Welcome to the Social Media Church podcast. I'm Neil Smith, and as always, I'm joined by Jay Cranda. Jay, it's good to be with you again.
Yeah, it's been fun. I feel like we've been playing tag a little bit. We were hanging out a couple days. You were here on the West Lovely Coast, and I got to say that one of the weeks, Jason Morris co-host, and I, because of a rush, did the actual. Normally, we actually, and we've talked about this on the show. We pay somebody on Fiverr to kind of help audio balance and stuff. So it's a way we leverage that technology. Well, because of the rush, I didn't do that, and I did it myself, like in iMovie. No, GarageBand. I did it in GarageBand on my Mac, and for some reason, when I saved it, whatever, and I uploaded it, I didn't include the intro and outro. So if you guys were listening, our kind of core listeners, you guys may have noticed there was no intro and outro, and that was my fault. And part of it is we use Libsyn to host the show. Yeah. And because it's linked to RSS feeds, it kind of messes up when you delete something that already has stats. So we kind of just I text you and I said, hey, should we delete it and re-up? And you said, no, let's just kind of leave it. So this is a show in progress. We're messy, and we just wanted to be transparent there for a second.
Yeah. Well, and I think if we're kind of honest, we like that we paid $5 for our show intro, yet we're a little kind of uncomfortable and awkward with the cheesiness of it. But it is what it is.
Well, and some of our friends, when we did our and we're going to talk about Meetupcom a little bit, but when we did our own meetup with some of our friends, they were kind of like, they were a little like, they thought it was a little goofy. And I was like, but they liked it. So
I like that it was $5, and I feel like most of my stuff, like, it doesn't matter how cool it is. It's like it all has a price tag to me. I'm like, oh, these lights that I have in my kit, these are $20. This microphone, $75.
Yeah,
I got a 25% discount, and so it's all about a price tag for me sometimes and how good of a deal I got. And so even our show intro, $5.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Most people don't have, like, it's always great if you can hire like the big designer, the big developer to execute all that, but most of the time you're just looking at costs, and which I like, because very much that's the beta. You're trying to prove it's worth it. I mean, obviously, with every week we learn something new, especially with doing this show. And so with that, I want to talk a little bit about a new toy that I got. So
I love new toys. Tell us about it.
I know. I feel like I feel very techie right now. So obviously I'm always in this in between. I love technology, but I love technology that's practical, and I think that's my thing. Especially, I'm still we're in this phase in our life where we're very much we're trying to be budget, conscious, because we got student debt and so forth. And so, but one of the things that I like kind of made a spur of the moment buy, because I'd been on the edge of wanting it, is
I love it.
A Nest Cam. And so we use Nest, and if you don't know what Nest is, Nest, a guy left Apple, and he actually was one of the big designers for iTunes and all sorts of products in there. He left, and he kind of rethought the whole thermostat thing. And the idea is he created this very easy, clean-looking, nice app where you can control the temperature of your home anywhere you're at. So we do it a lot. Like, we'll be in bed and we'll want our air to turn on, and I don't have to get up in the middle of the night. I can just turn it on. Or, that we live in a small condo, smaller condo. I guess it's not that small considering in Southern California, but like, our walls are thin. So I have two boys, and so sometimes I'll just go on my phone and I'll turn on the fan for 15 minutes so that they don't hear me when I leave, because I might wake them up. There's all these cool things. Or you'll be out for the day and it'll be super hot, and you want it to cool down when you get home, so you turn it on. So there's all these cool things. Well, they just released, they bought Drop Cam, and they integrated it in, and they kind of had their big release, and it says Nest Cam. And the idea is you have this camera that all it is it's literally, you just need to plug it into the wall, and it goes wall, and then you can set up the camera anywhere, and you use your phone to connect it to your Wi-Fi, and then you add it into your Nest app. And the idea is you have a 1080p camera anywhere you want. You can access it on your mobile phone. You can also access it on Nest.com, and it's amazing. You can pay $10 a month for 24/7 cloud, kind of archiving a video. You can go back, and I was showing you a little bit before, but it's a really cool thing. And there's a lot of things you could do with it, but we're using it kind of as a security thing, kind of as a learning thing. I'm watching my kids and having fun, but what did you think of it when I was showing it to you?
Oh, I thought it was awesome. And I've played with the technology a little bit, or kind of wanted that. I think about when we first had kids. I bought like I think I paid $200 some dollars for this baby monitor that was a video monitor and this little device, and it was really a security monitor. But where those are now, like the quality of it was so much better. The fact you can look at it on your mobile phone, I mean, it's awesome, and definitely wasn't 1080p.
Yeah.
And the quality wasn't there. So it's just a cool little device that, there's so many things now that are available to everybody, that
Yeah.
used to be just like expensive gadgets for the rich people, and I think about for churches, security systems. I mean, that's a security system
Oh yeah.
for a small church. You can put that in your worship center and protect all your gear and just know that there's eyes on it 24/7.
Yeah.
So a pretty cool little device.
And you can do within the kind of the nest.com, the web experience, you can even do time lapse of your day, which is kind of cool. You can
Nice.
do audio talk back. So I could talk to my kids.
Yeah.
I'm in a different room right now. I could pull it up and kind of see what my kids are doing in the living room. I think for churches, the cool thing is that kind of, I think about it as like, what if you had like a 24/7 lounge you can hang out with, or like a time zone place where people can come hang out with. The security thing is great. It's $199. Drop it, connect it to Wi-Fi, plug it in anywhere. And I think there's so many creative ways. You can also make, which I didn't know this, you could make the streams public if I wanted to. So
Wow.
I could make it so that anybody could see. And
Yeah.
I don't want everybody in my living room, but it's a really
Yeah.
interesting thing. And I think what I love about it is that the home automation thing is definitely moving very quickly. And
Yeah.
somebody's trying to, Google bought them. And so they're trying to control that space. And, we've been waiting for the whole, Apple to get into it, but it's a really interesting thing. I just wanted to share a little bit of that,
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
You can jump on my Instagram account to see a little bit more of it, but
Yeah, well, and I was gonna say I was at Bayside Church doing some streaming stuff for Nick Vujicic on his bus tour, and he when we were at Bayside Church in Sacramento, their streaming technology had issues. We weren't able to stream out of the campus where we were at, and they said, you know what, we have a drop cam, maybe we can stream through that. We poked through it a little bit. We couldn't figure out how to make it work for our need, but at that time, that was my first time to really mess with the drop cam. I saw really how simple that technology is, and that it can be used for so many things. I'll tell you though, what blew me away with Nick is we were pro HD live streaming stuff out there, and we were having about 500 to 600 people, maybe 1,000 on a couple events watching that stream. But the last two nights, I just pulled out my iPhone, hooked it up to a little little iPhone tripod. The first night we did that, we had 2,000 people live stream. The
wow.
second night, we had 4,000 people live stream.
What?
I bet if we did it a third time, we would have had 6,000 people. The power of simple when it came to live streaming was reaching thousands of more people because we weren't so caught up in fancy cameras, fancy lights, fancy microphones, and people were listening. I guarantee you we had more lost people listening to that message than we did just streaming out through a regular platform. So I love that simplicity. And that's one of the things that's so good about this technology you're talking about. Is it's simple, it's easy to use, it's for the everyday person. Let's talk about everyday person, though. Let's transition to our main topic of this conversation, and let's talk about Meetup. Meetup.com. What are your thoughts?
Well, one of the, and I want to encourage, we were talking about this with Jason Morris a little bit about of our debrief when we got together with some people doing online ministry. I want to encourage anybody who's doing this. I don't care if you're a youth pastor, you're an online pastor, whatever your role is, meet with people like-minded to kind of bounce ideas, to talk about what's working, what's not working. You can be honest, transparent. You can talk about all sorts of things. And one of the things I came out of doing that in our context was I really wanted to do more local meetups, because a big part of Saddleback Church, our vision with the online campus, is that we want people to go online to offline by opening up their homes. Now, part of that is, okay, we want to encourage that. We want to model that. And so we started rallying around this idea of doing, going to different areas around the country and eventually around the world where we can have meetups. And so I started to just mess around like, well, we don't really need to build anything. What if I just use meetup.com? And meetup.com has been around for many years. You can kind of start groups, and they use kind of a tagging system to kind of, you can meet people with like Star Wars, and you can search Star Wars and see if there's a meetup in your area. And the idea is you show up, you kind of have a stand, and people do all sorts of creative things. I know we're talking about doing shirts that's like Saddleback Church Meetup. But the idea is that I love that technology because, especially in the online context, either if you're doing a church online Or if you're a church in an area, you want to see what meetups are happening, and maybe there's a way you can infiltrate that. But we're talking about using Meetup both to, when instead of using our own RSVP system and we're going into Dallas or we're going into San Francisco or New York or whatever, we're going to create a Meetup on that platform to reach people in that area. And then we're also going to encourage our community. And this is still, and I'll say this is kind of like we're beta. We're not sure we're going to do this yet, but really maybe on some small levels, start encouraging our online community to use Meetup to connect with other people. And then all we do is we set the tag. So the idea is that, like, if you're going to do a Meetup with us, you got to use Saddleback Church, 2 words, kind of idea. And then we can filter all that. And then we'll provide some guidelines. But I was just thinking with churches, like, why wouldn't churches be on meetup.com and seeing, like, okay, what are the popular meetups? You might find some obscure thing or some really cool thing. You know, what if we can use those as outreach opportunities? I don't know. What goes through your head on that?
You know, I think about as Christians, so we often want to create a Christian version of everything. And I think meeting up is like core to Christianity, you know, and so it's like we should be looking for opportunities for community and one for us to be in community with each other, but the other is for us to interact with the community around us. And so meetup.com is basically created this public arena for people with like-minded interests and similarities to find each other and physically meet up. And so I think I remember a few years ago, Austin Stone Church did a sermon on it and basically said, I keep hearing that people don't have any lost friends. And it's like, if you don't have any, meetup.com. You have golden retrievers. There's a golden retriever group right here in Austin. Yeah. Do you have, are you interested in soccer? There's a soccer group. Go and find some friends and build some relationships. And so I think it's core to our faith to interact. And I think these online platforms provide great opportunities, one, for us to just engage out in the community, but then one, to put our activities and things that we're doing out there and see who else might be interested. I'm curious, Jay, as an online pastor, there's this constant tension between real world and online world. Is it real world? Is it online world? Now, I don't know the exact stats, but I hear about 33% of couples that get married now meet online. What are your thoughts about online dating? It wasn't, so when I got married, I just celebrated 10 years of marriage. It was weird back then, Now it seems to be the norm. Is it okay? And do you encourage people as a pastor to go and look for somebody online?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. It's definitely, for me, and I would say for me it would be not normal, because I met my wife through serving in ministry locally, and that's how I got to know her. But I know not everybody has that luxury. Not everybody has a dense population, let alone a dense Christian population, let alone a dense population that you guys can relate to things enough to want to get married and, all those things. And so I think online dating is definitely way more normative now. And I think in the last 3 years, it's made that transition of not weird. It's definitely, it's healthy. I've heard some good stories. And I know even Saddleback, one of the things we're throwing around was doing kind of like a dating website for members only. You would have to be a member, and the idea is that you could, like, if you wanted to meet somebody, and we have a membership covenant at Saddleback. I know not all churches have membership. We do. And so part of that is that you would have to, commit to the, what we believe as a church. You have to be baptized. You have to believe in Jesus. And, you have to not have issues with any of those things. And so part of it, that's a great filter. So what if we could use our database to do that? I still think internally there's a lot of conversation around, what does that look like? Is it more like Tinder? Is it this? There's, like, we don't know. And part of it is that I love the value out of it. Our pastor had a vision for, like, there's a lot of single people, and we want to somehow connect them with each other and see if there's something that can work. But I think online dating, there's a lot of potential, but eventually online dating goes offline. And I think that's the power of it, is what the church can learn. It's like, when you thought of online dating, you thought it was all online. Well, no, eventually it goes offline. And so I think that's how the church can leverage a lot of these, is that it just starts a conversation. And so I think with meetup.com, that was part of it. It's like, hey, we want to model what we're about, and ultimately we want to connect better people. It's a great technology, but we're going to start it online. We're going to funnel people from our online campus or our services through this technology and through a lot of other things we have. But I think there's so much potential. I definitely am not turned off by dating online. I would recommend it to some people, but it definitely is like still, it's a growth thing. I think it's something that I've come to terms with, like, okay, I've seen it done healthy enough. And so, yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah. I think never having, and I feel like the old guy in this conversation. So so my wife and I dated 4 years before we got married too. So it's 14 years ago. It was like dial-up internet days back then. And so having never lived through that, like I have a hard time understanding it, or even thinking about it for myself. But I have plenty of friends that have met somebody online, and it's worked out great.
Niels, we've kind of dated. So if you think about it, we met online.
We met online.
And someone's going to cut that piece right there.
And then I told you I was going to be in California. Do you want to meet up? And
definitely.
Like, let's go to a common, space that is very public.
Okay. So, okay.
We brought friends with us. We weren't alone.
I feel like I have to end this because we're gonna get in trouble.
Okay. What's interesting? I got to tell you this, Jay. So I went, and this is more of just a self brag, not really, but there's a point to this. So I went to Jimmy Fallon yesterday, which is like huge bucket list for me. He gave me a high five.
No way. His hand probably is huge. It's probably just like, anyways.
He's kind of a little guy, actually.
No,
Jimmy, he's just a normal guy. Anyways, he midway through his sermon. Or not his sermon. It's like a sermon. I'm in like church world.
No,
so midway through his monologue, he like messed up, and they literally like cut it midway through. Like you don't really, if you ever watch his monologue, you think it's just a straight run, but he does cuts. And now I don't know that he does a lot. There's only one in there, but he just like stopped, and he's like, "Yeah, that's not going to work," and just started that joke all over. And then you watch it live, and you don't even see it. So I don't know what kind of special editing, magic editing they're doing, but I know when we try to edit sermons like that, you can see that clip, you know. But Jimmy Fallon, they have some kind of master sauce.
Interesting. I went to a taping of Conan, and he messes up, but he makes it part of his bit. He's kind of like, we'll never air that. And they never cut it. But I do notice that, and I know every show's a little different how that, like Jon Stewart on The Daily Show, there'll be weird edits. Like Bill Clinton, President Clinton was on his show a while ago, and it was like strange as it edits. And I knew what it was Clinton was just rambling, and they had to like cut it down. But it's interesting because and what I do love about that is that like that probably never happened in Carson's day, but like Johnny Carson's day, but they've kind of adapted. Like they can clean it up. They do have that technology. Now, obviously they have a time deal, but I think that's gutsy. I think that makes it healthy. Man, we've talked about everything. We've talked about Nest Cam. We've talked about meetups. We talked about Jimmy Fallon, Conan. I love it. I think we're talking about online dating. Okay.
Good conversation.
I know. Seriously. Okay. So if you're listening, go to socialmedia.church to learn more about the show, to subscribe to us in various different ways. Use the hashtag SMC podcast. And thanks so much for listening.